Now I'll show you one of the most important films from that time, entitled Preservation of the Sign Language. It's obvious that the community knew something bad could happen here in America. The person in this film is George Vedetz, the president of the NAD at the time, the National Association of the Deaf. Here, he talked about the purpose of making these films. President Vedetz, whose name is signed like this, also mentioned that in Europe, signing was no longer allowed in schools. Teachers couldn't sign, and ones who did were laid off. Thus began a new era of using speech. Now I'll discuss whether this practice is still true today. And for that, I'd like to look at the status of sign languages around the world. You may notice that there's now a World Federation of the Deaf, or WFD. The NAD is an affiliate member of WFD, indicating that there are other national chapters around the world as well. In 1993, the WFD conducted a survey of their affiliates, asking each of the national organizations to answer a series of questions. There are a few important questions I'd like to highlight. One question was, do schools in your country use sign? If yes, are the signs used in schools the same as those used in the deaf community? And or does the community accept the signs used in schools? Answers from almost all respondents were that deaf communities were profoundly disappointed that while signs were used in schools, they were not the same as those used in the community. So what happened? That is one of the dangers of implementing new methods, leading to a disconnect in which people think that they can devise new and improved ways of communicating with deaf people. And ultimately, their ideas about sign language are usually aimed at aligning it with spoken language, because their thinking is that only spoken language has a real grammar. Now that's what happened in schools worldwide, which prompted a great deal of concern at WFD. Again, reflecting one of the dangers of not adhering to a natural sign language. We faced the exact same issue here in America. In the years after 1910, the NAD wrote resolutions about ways to preserve and safeguard sign language. You now know that film was ideal for capturing deaf people signing and giving presentations. This meant these films could serve as a platform for a literary legacy, transmitting their thoughts, creativity, and discussions to future generations. This was a response to a growing sentiment that other non-standard ways of signing might emerge. The films were intended to be a model. Another way that the NAD carried out their language plan was through books. They chose a member of the community, usually someone who was a teacher, to catalog signs along with instructions for proper use to show students in school, further promoting standardization. An ulterior motive of the plan was to get the community involved in advocacy by networking at different levels: community, state, national, and international.